Hi guys, my name is Chloe Perez, and today's discussion question is: to what extent do criminological theories which are used to understand and explain crime coincide with contemporary understanding of crime, and which theory do you think explains crime in the most logical way? So each theory coincides with the contemporary meaning of crime in its own different way. So if we're talking about classical theories, then they can coincide with their theories of deterrence, and that just means that the longer the sentence of the crime, the more likely people are less likely to commit said crime. So example, somebody committing a capital murder and then getting sentenced to life would deter other people from committing capital murder, or someone getting a large sentence which deters them from committing said crime again. So I believe each theory coincides with the contemporary meaning in its own way. Now, if we're talking about strain theory, then that also coincides with that people who feel as if they grew up underprivileged, or if they actually did grow up underprivileged, begin to see the world differently, and they want to take things so that way they can kind of like even out the playing field. And then another example that I'm going to talk about before I get into the second discussion question would have to be like Marxist, the Marxism one, which basically talks about the Marxism one, which basically spoke about how anyone could be a criminal. So these theories aren't even entirely reliable, but they are used to predict some things. For me personally, I believe no one theory explains all crime, but I believe the theory that explains crime the best way, in my point of view, would have to be like the social learning theory, and also maybe like Marxism, or so I believe the social learning theory explains crime a lot, because a lot of crime is learned. I don't believe anyone is born a criminal. Like obviously people can exhibit deviant behavior when they're younger, which has nothing to do with the people around them. But I believe that evil, quote unquote, or crime is learned, and it's not just something a person is born with. So if someone commits a crime, it's because they've seen other people commit this crime, or because like their environment has shaped them to believe that this crime is something that they need to do, unless of course it's like murder or something, which then is gonna have to go with the theory that anyone can be a criminal. It really just depends on circumstance, because people do just snap. So for me, I would say social learning theory does explain it the best to me, as well as strain theory in a way, which I feel like strain theory and social learning theory really like clash with one another, but not clash in a bad way, as in they like address the same aspects. While social learning theory doesn't only focus on the impoverished, it kind of is like an umbrella, and I do believe that those who could be technically affected by the strain theory are also affected by the social learning theory, and that deviant behavior, while it can be exemplified by anyone, it really does depend on your environment and what you grow up thinking is okay, what you see and what you feel that you need to survive in most cases. While of course there are people who just commit crimes to commit crimes, I believe that sometimes, and majority of the time, a lot of crimes are committed out of necessity, or out of just this is how their environment shaped them. So that's why I believe that social learning theory and strain theory happen to be one of the more, I would say, modern ways to explain some criminological theories, to explain some crimes is what I meant. So yeah, unlike the other ones, which kind of focused on like facial features and the way people looked, I don't really believe that is a good way to pinpoint whether or not someone would be a criminal. And then there's also rational choice theory, which I believe is also, like it could explain some crimes, but rational choice theory argues that people weigh the benefits and the consequences of their crimes, and there are a lot of crimes committed where it's clear that the consequences were going to severely outweigh the benefits, and it's like if you rely on rational choice theory, then it really just falls apart because you're like, there is no reason why they would have done that. But at the same time, any theory can fall apart because people are truly unpredictable. Thank you.